clear. When you see this, 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 when you see the checkerboards on the floor, when you see the skull and bones, when you see the signs and symbolism, when you slow down the music, Jay-Z new video with Nas and DJ Khaled, it's a scene where it's checkerboards. These are all occult, Satanist, symbolic symbols. So what I'm saying is, and I'm gonna tell you why and me personally, I've been in music for a minute, had deals and all that, bro. I don't give a fuck about this shit. But what I know, for me, I study so I know when I see it, so I know what to avoid. Cause niggas could be trying to sacrifice your ass and you're not studying. God told us to read and be knowledgeable. So when I see Jay-Z go, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does this mean? You're not no gang member. You got checkerboard floors in your shit. You got skull and bones. What does this mean? Because it's not just there. You look at Cardi B's album cover, it's checkerboard. You look at Dream Doll, now she's the checkerboard too. Like, I'm not, y'all niggas, let me tell you something. These motherfuckers sell their soul, they practice witchcraft.
What does it mean though?
What it means.
What does the checkerboard mean?
It means mind control. So you got classical conditioning, you got operational conditioning. So what they do is they use programming. So
MK Ultra?
Yeah, but it's to push an agenda.
1 in 5 Americans lives under a district attorney that was funded by George Soros.
I mean, this isn't a secret. The fact that people haven't been able to make the correlation that if you've got a politician that's openly posting for pictures with George Soros, your city has owners.
Until we get rid of George Soros as a national threat, like Viktor Orban did in Hungary, like Vladimir Putin did in Russia, we are not a serious nation, and we are an occupied nation, and we will continue to be an occupied nation. George Soros.
Since the dawn of time, we've been obsessed with the process of aging, or rather, how we can stop it. From fables of the Fountain of Youth to the pictures of Dorian Gray, man has dreamed of a world where the slow passage of time can be brought to a halt. We mostly think it's a myth, right? But does young blood hold the secret to the Fountain of Youth? There's an entire field of research dedicated to addressing the biology of aging. It's called geroscience. And one Spanish pharmaceutical firm might have actually stumbled upon the answer we've all been waiting for. Grifols was founded by Tony Whisk-Correa, a neuroscientist from Stanford University, whose research revealed that blood from young mice could potentially have restorative effects for elderly mice if they received the blood via transfusion.
But what if there was something to it? What if there was something to this fountain of youth?
One particular study saw elderly mice hooked up to the blood supply of younger rodents, essentially meaning that the two shared the same circulatory system, and researchers were baffled at their findings. The older mice could heal wounds faster and repair small tears in their muscles quicker. However, it was the younger mice who suffered the consequences, as their own ability to heal wounds dramatically decreased. While the old mice grew more energetic, the younger mice suddenly behaved as if they were middle-aged. The results generated worldwide headlines, and also some unwanted attention from a man who offered to provide all the blood Whisk-Correa might need for such an experiment, with claims he could obtain it from human children of any age. Alongside this, floods of pleas from Alzheimer's patients and their loved ones inquiring about human trials. Back in 2016, a startup company called Ambrosia started offering young blood transfusions for $8,000 a piece. Reports claim around 600 people signed up to the Dracula-esque enterprise.
Regular transfusions of the blood of a younger, physically fit donor can significantly retard the aging process.
The company closed down in 2019 amid fears from the US Food and Drug Administration, although a 2020 report in The Guardian claimed it's since got back up and running. Now, even if the technology is totally harmless, it does appear as though the private sphere and the wealthy will be the first and possibly the only people to reap the rewards. What are the consequences of that? Well, billionaires will live forever, while the rest of us might just live a little bit less.
Putin to do the right thing and release the men. There's always complications. It was a very complicated discussion, but I think in the end, His Royal Highness was able to convince President Putin that this is a humanitarian gesture that is worthwhile, and this is how we achieve this result. Well, Duke Santa told the Washington Post, quote, I never dreamed that it was a possibility that the Saudi government would be able to do something like this. The foreign minister also told me that the kingdom serving as a mediator between Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky could potentially and hopefully lead to an eventual end of the war.
What I can say is that we believe that an engagement is important, that working towards a negotiated settlement is critical, a settlement that respects also, of course, Ukraine and Ukraine's sovereignty and addresses the concerns of all parties in a way that prevents further bloodshed. I think in the end what's most important is that we stop the bloodshed and we stop the suffering of the civilians that are inevitably affected by any conflict.
Well, the new one is, you're all paedophile. When you switch on the TV news tonight, that guy reading the news is a paedophile. That woman reading the news is a paedophile. These politicians in front of me are paedophiles. These experts are all paedophiles. These trade union leaders are all paedophiles. These senior civil servants are all paedophiles. He's a paedophile. She's a paedophile. Now, it's not a witch hunt kind of way. They have to actually, by default, that's what they are. Because if they're going to call ordinary, decent people by default far right, for having the same liberal opinions of the... I'm still a 1980s liberal. I haven't changed. But if they're going to call us far right, we're going to call them paedophiles. It's as simple as that. Because there's far more evidence that they're involved in a paedophile agenda than any of us are in a far right agenda. In fact, there's none. There's absolutely zero fucking evidence that any of us are hard right. Zero. We're 1980s liberals, okay? That's what we are. You're just Bolshevik pedophiles. And it's up to you to prove that you're not. If you're going to put our humanity on the line, welcome to the club. Nonsense.
Cooper, thanks for being with us today. Let's talk about the JFK assassination. CIA plot?
Well, from the top secret documents that I read while I was in Naval Intelligence, it concerned the Central Intelligence Agency, the Secret Service, Division 5 of the FBI, and the Office of Naval Intelligence, and that's why I was able to view these documents.
Now, why would the CIA and the security community want to kill the president?
From what I understand and from what I read, Bob, they viewed President Kennedy as a security threat, and I'm not sure exactly what that means. But the documentation clearly said that the assassin was the driver in the car in which he was riding in Dallas on that day, and it was plainly visible in a film withheld from the public.
Now, you brought that film with you. Let's take a look at that if we can. Here's the film. Go ahead and narrate this for us, will you?
Well, it took me 16 years to find this film because it has really been withheld. And what you're seeing here is the motorcade on Elm Street passing in front of the book depository building. Kennedy has been shot in the throat, and Jacqueline is pulling him toward her, trying to comfort him, and she's in shock. At this time, you see the driver turn around with a pistol in his left hand, firing over his right shoulder, and shoots the president directly in the head.
Here's a repeat of it, yeah.
The weapon, watch the driver, his name is William Greer. He was, in fact, a Secret Service agent. The weapon is an electrically operated, gas-powered assassination pistol built especially for the Central Intelligence Agency.
You don't see any puff of smoke from...
That's correct.
Because what you think is a pistol there in the right-hand corner, lower right-hand corner.
That's correct.
Why is that?
Well, it's an air-operated pistol. It's pneumatic. And it actually fired an exploding pellet which injected shellfish toxin into the president's brain so that if the actual explosion of the pellet itself did not kill him, the toxin would.
Now, did you read all of this
Yes.
in the documents?
Yes, and that's why his brain was switched for another brain in transit between Parkland Hospital in Dallas and Bethesda Naval Hospital in Washington, D.C.
Now, what about Oswald?
Oswald was a patsy. We have a photograph of him actually standing in front of the book depository building in the doorway watching the motorcade as it goes by. That is Lee Harvey Oswald there.
These people are fucking scumbags, okay? They've developed technologies while we were busy living our lives that can harm us and make us sick. They're poisoning the air with chemtrails. You can see chemtrails, right? They're poisoning the water. Your government announced we're filling the water with fluoride. How about you don't? How about you take rainwater or recycled water and you clean it and you give it back to us? Oh no, that's too easy. GMO foods, it started with that. We don't want foods that have had the healthy enzymes removed. You absolute bastards. And now people are dying and sick from a vaccine that they said would stop them getting COVID. What happens when you get the jab? Oh God, I get COVID. What happens when you get the flu shot? Oh God, I get the flu. You know, if you you were on the ground and someone was kicking the shit out of you, you'd go to the cops and report them for assault, for attempted murder. And there's been attempted murder here, and there's attempted murder on us constantly, and you people do nothing. You just argue amongst yourselves, because they set it up. They set it up that way. Argue amongst each other, you know, men and women and race and colour and sexuality and rainbow flags. It's all bullshit. There are frequencies that they've developed that can make you sick or they can cure, and they're using them to make you sick, and suddenly we're surrounded by 5G towers. And I've never felt as strange and unwell and unsafe since these 5G towers have gone up. And I don't live near one, but when I go near one, I feel very, very afraid. Listen, I know you vaccinated people don't want to talk about this, but you need to. The first 2 shots lowered your drawbridge of your immune system for the rest of these boosters to let these nanobots in to assemble, cross the blood-brain barrier and harm you. Where are your balls, people? Do you want to live? They're going to make Europeans freeze it out for 5 to 10 winters? This is attempted murder. Sort your shit out, people. There's way more of us than the 300 people that run this planet.
Mr. Hollingsworth is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Well, good afternoon. I'm excited to be here with each of you. Before I get started on my questions, Mr. Moynihan, I wanted to let you know, Saruthi, raise your hand, Saruthi. She has been my team member for a couple of years now, but on Monday she becomes a Bank of America team member, about which she is very, very excited. So I hope you'll take good care of her and know and recognize the talent that she has shown already in our office. I'm sure she'll do the same at Bank of America.
We will do that, and her father already works for us, so he'll take care of it.
You should have called us.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to chat about some of these issues today. What I'm really interested in is the state of the economy.
How are you floating your resume to big banks? I mean, you're supposed to be the ones, you know, policing the big banks.
Grow up, Jamie.
There must be some kind of law against working for a financial institution right after you've been working in financial regulation, right?
No.
Hey! Doggy!
Hey! Come over here! What are you doing at Caesars?
He's a Goldman. Yeah.
Her father already works for us, so he'll take care of it.
You should have called us.
Every 7 years, on the exact end day of the Shemitah, which is the exact end day of basically the Jewish year every 7 years, there's usually a major market collapse, and it's actually usually on the exact day. This is a Shemitah year, and it actually ends on September 26th, which is a Monday. So I've definitely said to keep your eyes on that date. But when I saw this, I was like, what? It's a German politician.
Dieser 24. September 2022 wird uns allen als ein Tag im Gedächtnis bleiben, von dem wir später einmal sagen werden, ich weiß noch genau, wo ich war.
And even more interesting, on top of the German politicians saying September 24th is going to be like a day that everyone on earth will remember, the Vatican has told all of its people that whatever funds they have across the world, to send them all back to the Vatican by September 30th, which is like 4 days after the end of the Shemitah. And of course, when they tell people this, you know, you don't just wire billions of dollars on like September 29th when the Pope told you to have it back there by the 30th, right? You probably do it a few days before. And they probably mentioned that to them. So the Vatican seems to know something's going on. So something like these birds flying by, black birds, black clouds, something ominous seems to be on the horizon.
% meatless.
Yes, please. Another, please.
Sir, is there a problem?
The FBI doesn't want you to know about these tools. Watch how easy it is to pick locks. Insert your tool. Apply some tension right here. Come down on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And you've called this
judge a tyrant, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you actually use that word a lot with your audience. You call people tyrants, don't you?
Only when they act like it.
Secondly, Jimmy Kimmel, viral this. I fight to eradicate childhood malnutrition from the planet. And until they release the flight logs, you, the mainstream media, Hollywood, are all pedophiles to me. Am I canceled yet.com?